Hi everyone, thanks for watching another video about this CompTIA Security Plus certification. Today we're going to look at some exam questions. We will go over them together and hopefully we can learn from it. This way you have a good idea what you can expect on the exam. Thanks for watching, see you soon. Hi everyone, we're back with another video about the CompTIA Security Plus certification, and let's go into test number 7. It's a little bit special because I'm using a different computer now to record my audio. I saw there were some troubles with the audio, so I'm using my old laptop now, and it's sounding a lot better. I hope you also get the same impression. Without further ado, let's just make this number 7 test. A network device designed for managing optimal distribution of workloads across multiple computing resources is known. Workloads, multiple computer resources like servers, for instance. Load balancer, definitely. Optimal distribution. A load balancer distributes loads, sessions, traffic over multiple servers and balances the load to make sure that the services keeps up and running and is fast and responsive. Which of the terms listed below refers to a method that ignores the load balancing algorithm by consistently passing requests from a given client to the same server? Session affinity. It's all about the session. It sticks with the same server throughout the whole session between the browser and the server. In a round-robin method, each consecutive request is handled by the next server in a cluster. Not the first server, because that might be under load, but just the next server. Yeah, least utilized, last server in a cluster, the next one in a cluster. A cluster of servers, and this method just utilizes the most out of the resources. Continue. Specs, higher specs. True statement. In active passive mode, load balancer distributes network traffic across servers marked as active. Not all servers, not the least utilized servers, but in active passive mode, servers that are marked as active, meaning they are online. In active mode, load balancers distribute network traffic across all servers. No matter if they're utilized or not utilized, they distribute the traffic over all servers. Continue. An IP address that doesn't correspond to an actual physical address, actual physical network interface, is called a virtual IP address. Correct, because a physical address is a hardware address. Every network interface has a network address. But you can clone IP addresses in a virtual way, making it a virtual IP address. So that's true. So on the same NIC, network interface cards, you can have multiple IP addresses on the same physical hardware. What type of IP address would be assigned to a software-based load balancer to handle an internet site hosted on several web servers, each with its own private IP address? It's got to be a virtual IP address, because I see software-based load balancer and I see several web servers. So that means several web servers. Nowadays, we all make them virtual. They're all virtual machines, virtual servers with virtual IP addresses. An infrastructure device designed for connecting wireless and wired clients devices to a network that's commonly referred to as an access point. An access point, yeah, for me it's more about I think about an access point when you talk about wireless devices, but an access point I think it's also a switch. So, you know, you have access points with a switch built in. It's basically, yeah, for either wireless or wired clients. It's an access point. Which of the following acronyms is used as a unique identifier for the WLAN wireless network? That's easy. That's an SSID standing for Service Set Identifier. Disabling SSID broadcast is one of the measures used in securing wireless networks, makes a wireless network harder to discover, blocks access to a web, prevents wireless clients. No, it makes WLAN harder to discover. It doesn't make it impossible to discover, because if you download an application within Kali Linux, okay, your wireless analyzer, your Wi-Fi analyzer on your Android or your iOS device may not be able to detect it. But you can definitely detect it, and you're only shutting down the broadcast, basically, of saying, here I am, here I am, here I am. You don't do that. All the clients in your network can be connected to a wireless network that doesn't broadcast SSIDs. It just makes it harder to discover that there is actually a wireless network. When you do find it, you're basically in the same position as wireless networks that do broadcast their SSID. So it only makes it harder to discover. Continue. A network security access control method where a 48-bit physical assigned to each network. MAC filtering. Right off the top, MAC filtering, because network address translation is something else that has to do with passing an IP address, like an external IP address with a request, designating it to the right service or server. Static IP address is assigning a static IP to a certain device, and a network access control is something else. It can be a network access control list of all the MAC addresses that are allowed to enter a certain network. And when you're not on the list, you can't get an IP address, meaning that you can't connect to a certain server on that network. So you are in control. And most of the time with a network access list, also a MAC address, which is the hardware address of your card, your network interface, is used to build up that list. But too much talk. This is MAC filtering. Continue. Let's see. This is WAP power level controls. How do I know? Yeah, I studied. Not much to talk about. This is just this answer. Continue. Frequency bands for IEEE 802.11 networks. This is basically consumer stuff, or in ieder geval, I want to say in Dutch. This is what most of the access points have. There's just two bands. It's the 2.4 and the 5 gigahertz band that they use. Most commonly used is the 2.4 frequency band. You can also enable 5 gigahertz, or you can use them both. Just remember that 5.4 and 2 gigahertz doesn't mean nothing. The 2.4 and 5 is what you gotta remember. Common overlapping bands networks, 11 channels. Yeah, so for each band you can set up several channels, being it 1, 6 or 11. And that allows multiple networks to coexist in the same area. Area is a very good one, because you buy a router with an access point, and your neighbor buys a router with an access point, and you all use the 2.4 gigabyte band, and all use 11 channels. Well, you will see that the speed and the connectivity will drop, and if you set it to a different band, then you can coexist within that same frequency band, if that makes any sense. The same applies to the 5 gigahertz band. So this is a true statement, and let's continue. This is what we all get when we buy just a standard consumer AP dipole antenna. This is a dipole and an omnidirectional antenna. This is for horizontal signal coverage. Horizontal, yeah, not vertical. Continue. That's a dish antenna, long range. You use a dish, and I think an omnidirectional antenna, but dish for sure. Optimal wireless access point antenna placement provides a countermeasure against war chalking, tailgating. That's definitely war driving, because let's say, for instance, you have an access point in the front of the living room, and it covers much of the street, so a car down the street might be able to pick up your signal, and he might get an IP address and do a little reconnaissance of your network and see where the gateway is and see if there maybe is a firewall, and do some testing here and there. You want to prevent that. You want to make sure that the coverage area of your access point is basically mostly inside the house. Nowadays we have good encryption methods, but I remember the days in 2005, 2006 when people just started with access points. Some of them don't even had any encryption or even password protected AP, and you can just go on there with your laptop and you go to Amazon or some kind of message service and use their IP. And when you really want to do bad, you can do a lot of bad stuff coming from their IP. Going back to the question, this is definitely war driving. Type of architecture, network configuration, access point, managed with a central switch. This is the key point, central switch. It's infrastructure mode. Let's say, for instance, you have a big office building and you want to go to the hassle to configure 50 different APs. No, you want to make sure that you have a central switch in which you set up your whole network basically, and that's called infrastructure mode. Okay, the term FAT AP refers to a standalone access point device offering extended network. Let's see, is that correct? It's true. Yes, it's true. Yeah, that's basically yeah, you have to log into every device, so every AP, every access point, and configure it all by hand, which is a very old way and a very time-consuming way to set up a wireless network. You want to set it up in infrastructure mode, so you have one device to set up your whole network. And I'm not sure if it broadcasted to the rest of the devices, but then you immediately set up maybe 25, 50 or 100 access points at the click of a button. You hit apply and those configuration settings will be beamed to all the devices that are connected to that central point. Yeah. Okay, continue. A technology that allows real-time analysis of security alerts generated by network hardware applications known as, yes, this one. Certain things, alerts, applications, real-time. This is this one, SIEM. And SIEM stands for Security Information Event Management. So basically what gave it away is here, security alerts. So that is usually about events, like at this and that time frame something happened and that's an event. Could be a security alert or something like that, but it is a security event. Continue. Let's see. Describing use of rewritable storage, time synchronization. The rest, it all does it. It can get its data from different sources. Action, automated triggers alert. Okay, yeah. This doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense to me when we talk about this security information and event management tool. Rewritable storage. Yeah. Continue. Which of the following terms refers to computer data storage devices, data storage media? Written once, but read multiple times. DVD, read, write. A tape library, you can also read and write multiple times. Floppy disk, you can read and write. So it has to be a worm. It's just my guess because all of these devices can be written to multiple times. Read write gives it away here because if it's just a DVD, it's different. Then that would apply also to DVD. Tape can be written and read and write multiple times, and same thing with floppy. So it has to be a worm. Last question. Hardware-based security solutions. Let's see. This is execution and this is loss. Detect loss. Okay, let's go over them. Load balancer was correct. Session, server, true. Looking good, looking good. Virtual IP, access point, SSID. Okay, this was also good. Otherwise, I would think of this. Measurement, use in storage. No. Secure. Okay, MAC filtering. Wow, this is looking good. Okay. Infrastructure mode. I missed thin IP. Okay. Thin IP I missed. Infrastructure mode. Just keep it. It's, yeah. A thin IP is basically told what you need to do, but it's also from a central point. Same thing as infrastructure mode. Okay. Let's see. Worm. Wow. That's only one. That's very good. Yeah. I hope this video is useful for you. I really like this topic on the network security. Also, I'm not a network guy, but I just learned a lot of terms and what they use, what they mean, I should say. Definitions. Just learn what's SIEM, what's a load balancer, it's all about what it is. I think in this exam you don't need to necessarily be very technical. You just need to know what it is and what it does. So I think even people, you need to have an affinity with computers and with networks and know to a certain degree how they work. But if you're good at studying, you can pass this exam. I've been talking way too long and way too much. We'll hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.